May have broke something there. One moment. Let's do this. That doesn't look exactly right either, does it? Oh, boom. Okay. Sweet. All right. So, hey, cool. Look at that over there. All right. So, welcome. Thank you all for coming. You're going to have to bear with me for a bit. I actually bought a streaming software as opposed to using just the kind of the baked in one OBS that everybody knows. How do I get rid? Oh, like that. Cool. And then I can do stuff like this. All right, focus, Michael. Yeah, so gotta forgive me for two reasons. One, I'm a mess and sweaty and all that, but been painting the baby's room all day. So I'm a bit flustered there. I literally just ran out and washed some paint off my hands and then got to work here. And secondly, because I have this new streaming software. So I think I've got everything set up correctly, although I kind of broke something there when I went to my intro, but we'll deal with that later. Tweet that, get that out. So again, all right, let's get into it. If anything breaks, if there's a point that you can't hear me, if there's a point that something looks dumb, certainly let me know for that. Yeah, so what we do here, right? Once a week live stream. So far on the channel, with more ideas to come now that the new year's here, we do a couple short videos where I just talk about, things that I'm looking at, my thoughts on the market, stuff like that. Then we do a weekend wrap up where I just use what I know from technical analysis, being a CMT, which is up there, and trading for many, many years to go over the markets. And then we do once a week live stream where I kind of do all of that together, come up with some ideas for next week, talk about kind of what I think of the crypto and the equities and the futures markets. Again, this is like a nice little preview of what happens over at statsedgetrading.com each day, where if you're interested, link is in the description below. Soon I'm going to have like some fancy titles and stuff. But what we do is we've got a live trading room, not a signal service. I just want to reiterate, I don't believe in signal services. But on top of that, just a place for us to shoot the shit and hang out. We have a nighttime watch list and analysis where I post like 30 charts with commentary on each chart, what I'm thinking about FX, crypto, futures, individual equities, all of that. We have access to all of my scans and all of that. You're going to see me today use TrendSpider and TradingView, both of which I am affiliated with, and trade ideas I actually consult with as well. I just like to be upfront and honest about that. But links to both of those are in the description below, little discount links that save you some money and help support the channel. What else do I have to say before we get started? Oh yeah, please leave a like. I get a little like counter now over here. I don't have to see how many people are watching because I just like to talk anyway, regardless if anyone's here. But I get to see your comments and I can just type hi. And then I can share comments with the screen and stuff. So after I'm done my wrap up of the markets, that will be the time where you guys can ask me questions about individual stocks or markets or cryptos or whatever, and I'll bring them up on screen and take a look at them for you. And I can bring them into there at the same time. So cool new things. If anyone's interested, it's called Ecamm Live. Not affiliated with them, but maybe someday. The reason I got it is because it's ground built up for the M1 Max, and I'm a Mac guy, so it just seemed to make sense. Now, let's just get into the two videos I made this week. I think I have, I still have some wet paper towel in my pocket from painting. Just no fun. So, what did I talk about this week? I gotta get my Stream Deck thing going here, but for now I can just click right on there. So if I did that right, I should just be in a little box in the corner. So what did I do this week for videos? So the first one was APRN. APRN. session. No, daily. There we go. So this is what I was essentially looking at in APRN. We have, if we go back a little bit and I just do my shaded area, I know there was some confusion with the pro members on this one, but essentially anytime you see a shaded area like this from me, it's because I always believe, and this is something we're taught with technical analysis, is that nothing is ever a point in time. It's a, or it's not like a price, right? You don't have support at $8. You have support around $8. So these shaded areas to me are going to be areas that encompass a lot of support and resistance around that area. You guys can see that when I do that, right? I hope so. So, this APRN, you can see it was support in through here. It was a little bit of support in through here. It was resistance in through here, support in through there. So this, call it 650 area is extremely important for APRN. And those are the areas that as traders we like to play around. So I was looking at this, and then I was just kind of looking at this declining wedge that's happening here. And just trying to see if we broke out there. I actually did take this one. I'm in from a boat where it closed. I think I'm in at like 640. Stop is very, very tight. Just looking to see if we can get a bounce up, maybe challenge these highs. Who knows? That would be fantastic because it'd be like a double. But, that's just kind of what I'm looking at for that one. So that triggered, but nothing happened. And then the other one here is FGen. Originally, the Stats Edge Pro guys will know that we took FGen right about here. And we got a pretty decent trade out of that before it pulled back and got the rest of mine break even. And now I'm looking at this triangle here for FGen. Just looking to see this, where the gap has started right here, seems to be acting as resistance. So I'm just looking to see if I can get a break of some downtrend line or something to get me in a little bit early, just to see if it breaks this time, maybe gets us into the gap. Would be fantastic if it filled the gap, that type of thing on FGen. But I haven't taken anything yet because I think I posted that on Thursday, and then Friday was just a down day, right? I want to see a break and a close above, because for those who don't know, I know that all the Stats Edge Pro guys do. For me personally, when it comes to swing trading, most of my swing trading takes place at the end of the day, right? Where I want to see a break and a hold above certain levels and a close above that as well. This is really weirding me out. Is this how it always looks like to you guys? Or is it flipped? I'll figure that out. All right, so that's that. But let's get into the markets. Let's actually start with the crypto markets. So again, for crypto, the scanner and analysis tool I use is TrendSpider because Trade Ideas doesn't have crypto. But I think it's a great tool. They do some good stuff that I like that Trade Ideas doesn't, like mobile alerting, and it has a mobile app that I can check on my trades when I'm out and about. Because again, as a swing trader, one of the benefits of swing traders is we don't have to sit there all day, every day, and stare at the screens, right? I enter, I put in my stop loss, and then I exit all based on the close. So we can take a look at these cryptos right here. Basically what I do generally when I scan crypto now, instead of going through the entire list, I actually sort it by change. And I just want to look at things that are up on the day. Because I constantly go through the list, if it's down on the day, I'm probably not going to be too interested in it. But actually, before we go through that, let's just get started with the big guys, with the Bitcoin here. ELG. Yeah, let's just finish Bitcoin, Ethereum, and we'll take a look at that EGLD USD. Anything to do with gold? I know there's a couple gold cryptos. So yeah, this 41,000, I think every trader on planet Earth is watching this one here for Bitcoin, right? Resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, support here, support here, support here. Very well-defined level, this 41,000. It's holding it. I'm actually going to change that to barely, Because again, as you guys know, when I'm marking up these charts like this, and when I do this big sweep here, it's because these are the charts that get uploaded with these little bits of commentary on each one and all the drawings every night for the Stats Edge Pro people. And so Bitcoin is barely holding this 41 support. I don't think I wouldn't be stepping in front of this here, and I wouldn't be shorting this here either. We're at a very pivotal point, and we need to figure out what's going to happen at this point before I'm going to be interested. If we start to bounce off it and maybe we get above this line here of resistance, maybe I might take a shot on it, but so far, not looking great on that one. If we look at Ether, right, I was drawing this kind of declining wedge, and we broke that declining wedge and smashed hard. So the next area I think that is important on Ether is this zone right here, and that is 3,000, right? Resistance there, support there, possible support there. So we have to remove all arrows and remove all of those, and just say 3K is the one thing that's kind of interesting as well is Ethereum's ETH Bitcoin. So Ethereum over Bitcoin, right? It had this long consolidation from basically since the beginning of 2021. Ethereum has been doing way better than Bitcoin. Now that's kind of coming back right here, right? Where we have now Ethereum pulling back when it comes to Bitcoin, just kind of showing that Bitcoin dominance may be coming back. Ethereum's a little bit higher beta or higher volatility than Bitcoin, but usually you can get some clear trends out of this. I think this failure, right? We had a breakout. If you traded this, that would have been a great trade, and it's back down now. So maybe getting a little bit of worry from the Ethereum-based names. The only coin that I'm really, really stalking right now is this NGen coin. I took some of it here and I made a decent little gain. I took some here and I made a decent little gain. The back half of both of these positions got stopped out break even. So now I'm just kind of watching the same thing, right? Will this downtrend line here break? Will it hold, 230-ish? And then pop up from here? I may get involved again. This is one of those metaverse plays, I believe. Not too sure. But basically, any crypto that's holding above its August-ish highs, I'm interested in. Anything that's below that, I don't really care about anymore. We got to do Finder. Charts. Just need to keep this organized as I go, because after I'll be done this, for all you pro members, that's when I'll be compiling that nighttime watch list there. All right, let's look. So you want, just while we're on crypto, EGLD, USD. I don't really see anything here right now. Yeah, it's just kind of in a middle of a range. It's at support. Like this 182 makes sense for support. However, you've got all of this resistance right overhead. But I guess that's at 300. So there's some good range to be had there. So that's the only thing I can see from that is you kind of want to lean on this zone in here at 182, 183 if you're interested in it. Might not be the worst thing in the world to take a shot, and then right where you're wrong. Is there any more data than that? Oh, some. No more data. Okay. So yeah, still in an uptrend. Decent crypto. Very volatile, you just need to know, right? So if you're buying it at 180, your stop's 160, right? So on a percentage gain, that's pretty gnarly. So just make sure that you're you note that, right, when you're trading it. There's nothing wrong with volatility as long as you size yourself accordingly. Where people get in trouble is they use volatility and they look at the upside as opposed to anything else. Sushi swap's interesting. Put that on watch. Matic. Yeah, I'm still in some Matic, but that's just been a grinder. Ooh, yeah. Axis, it's not doing well. File's not doing well. You had a lot of ugly action in the crypto markets. And I know there's going to be some crypto diehards that are going to get upset with me, but it's just the way it is. Yeah, this keep sucked. I was in this keep at 70. It got to 90, and I took out like a small, I think like a third of my position in the 90s, and then it just stopped me out on the rest. There's been a lot of that going on. You know, as much as these things are they're somewhat trading independent right now. When Bitcoin really takes a tumble, it seems to drag a lot of them down with it. This atom, I'm gonna look at this atom again. It's got clear resistance up here at 43. Cosmos, if it can get above 43, that's kind of what's interesting to me. Just look at the strength of this individual name as opposed to what we've been seeing as we've been scanning through the rest of them. You know, like anything, looking at relative strength is always a good idea. So I'm just going to put in the watch list here. Come on. Atom, and we're going to look at that around 43. And we can probably reestablish this area a little bit better in here. Just seeing if this is a little pullback before this breaks higher. All right, so if you, right, Vlad there, if you take a look at that and the trend on that, and then take a look at ELGD USD, GLD, right, you can see how this one's been much weaker recently. So that's kind of why I'm gravitating towards those strong names. I want to look at Mana as well. It's holding this area. Just take this line. It's been holding this $3 right here. Pfizer for sure. Once we get to that area, I know it's strong as hell, but pulling back a bit. Right. So this is kind of what I'm looking at here for Pfizer. Or not Pfizer, Mana. All right, this downtrending line, if it breaks out in this while holding 3, I'm going to watch this one as well. Mana's that Decentraland, which I just can't get my head around. Again, I'm fine with crypto. Right, I was in crypto years and years and years ago. Obviously, wish I just went all in Bitcoin and didn't sell it, but I get all that. I get some merit for some ANT or for NFTs, but these, like the digital land and stuff, I'm like, this is just insanity, in my opinion. Solana's got to hold on here. We were watching it above 200. We never got that. So not really interested there either. Let's take a look here at, so for the crypto markets, right, we're sitting just, I like to summarize every one before we go to the next one. For the crypto markets, we are sitting on that razor's edge, right? This Bitcoin that I pointed out early, this Bitcoin like 41,000, 40,000 area, This is, I think if we lose this and we hold below it, we could get a quick flush into the 30s. And then below the 30s, geez, there's really not much here. You'd have to go way back to the 20,000 here before you're super interested. But on a longer term chart in Bitcoin, this is obviously what's happening, right? This could be a bull flag that could exist for years before we see a resolution one way or the other. But for a shorter term chart, for me, it's all 41,000. What happens there? I wouldn't be taking any trades before it. Now let's go to the FX markets, because I trade all of these things. I trade everything. Yeah, Sand and ETH I use for that game, the Sandbox. And again, I'm a nerd. Like I was a StarCraft junkie. I still play some games from time to time. I have spent money for cosmetic items in video games when I was younger. I think I would be a pretty decent target audience for this if there was something to get. I just don't get like the NFTs I've heard like some bands using them for like backstage passes and things like that. I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. But the profile picture of a monkey, other than flexing, the same way someone would buy like Supreme stuff, I don't get it. I can do this now so that people don't know what I'm talking about. So for Euro USD here, I'm watching this kind of bear flag with a question mark. We have this big rounded top in through here. All right, we've got this massive kind of rounded top going in here. If this bear flag here breaks, I'm interested. It may just break back up and I'll be wrong, but I haven't taken a position yet. That's kind of what I'm looking at for Ether USD. GBP, I had been having a great time shorting off this VWAP resistance in here. I may actually take another shot if we remove this one, then we remove this one. If we get back to this anchored VWAP, that has been holding. When it comes to trading Forex, I like more kind of support and resistance plays than in things like crypto or currencies, just because it's a more choppy instrument, right? There's a lot more range playing with inside of FX because it is so institutionally driven. Most recent trade I have actually taken in crypto or in FX is the same Australian dollar play, possible big rounded top. We had this kind of counter trend move and then a break under it. So I took a little bit of a short there. All of this just kind of showing that the US dollar is actually pretty strong right now. And this is what I've been watching for in the US dollars. For those who don't know, the UUP is an index. And as an index, essentially what it does, it's just the US dollar versus a basket of other basket of other currencies, right? So it's like a little bit of euro, a little bit of Canadian, a little bit of pound, a little bit of yen, all of these things, just to get an understanding across instruments what's happening here to the dollar. And it's been incredibly strong since it's kind of put in this big rounded base, which is hilarious. Everyone's saying, oh, the dollar's going to fall apart because of the printing. Well, if it is, it's not yet. So there's no reason to be betting on that right now. Let's move that over here. So when it comes to the FX markets, that's really all I think you need to see. What's happening with this UUP? If you want to watch Forex as a whole, I think this is a really good thing to watch, because if this is breaking out and you're playing a cross pair to the US dollars, you don't want to necessarily do that, right? You want to say, okay, if this is breaking higher, the dollar is strong, so let me take that into consideration when I'm playing a cross pair. Or you could play some of these exotics like Euro GDP or something like that. Now let's just get into the equity markets and just start scanning through here. We'll start with the big guys. We'll start with the SPY. Really not too much to say here. I was playing around earlier when I was doing the TI strength stuff, which it's already done, should be out soon. And for you Trade Ideas users, that channel should be updated, and it updated correctly this time, I do believe. Let's just make this black like that. So I'm watching this uptrend line, just ignoring this abandoned baby, you could call it. That's the technical candlestick pattern when you have a gap down and then a day and then a gap back up. They called it an abandoned baby. It's incredibly strong historically. But you can see all of the points that touch this trend line. If this breaks, that's interesting, and we now need to watch this level. If we bounce from there, then the bears are going to be equally as frustrated. Then there's the other option of just we're going to chop sideways for an incredibly long period of time. I don't think that's going to occur, and we'll get into that more once we go into kind of the Forex factory and figure out what economic news is. This is a pretty substantial down move to me right away. So I think whatever's going to happen is going to happen in the early part of next week, essentially. You know, if we don't hold trend line, I spilled something on my keyboard, and my space key and my O key and my P key stick now, which I need to get another one. So where's this? Watch 450. And that's really, I think, the line in the sand is right here at 450 on the SPY, where we had these last two bounces. If we break and hold below that, I think it's bad news. That's when I would start to get defensive, move most of my positions into cash and then wait. As long as we stay above that, we're continuing to uptrend. And that's just not a random number, right? If we go back since, I don't know, a year, we've been having these series of higher highs and higher lows. But you can see that each and every pulled back has never taken the low before it. So this would be the first time that we potentially get a breakdown, and that would be the first change in trend here, right? So the first change in trend, I always think is it's hard to trade the first change in trend, so I usually don't. And B, it's usually when it resolves pretty violently. So for me, it's right, you watch this trend line. If that breaks, you watch 450, and then we can go from there. So how do I feel about credit spreads? I have a post-secondary designation in options. I still don't trade them very much. I have a problem with the risk reward on them, right? Is that the reward is always not like I'm the kind of guy that I want to trade for multiple times my risk, right? I want to trade for 4 or 5 times my risk on a good trade. I want good trades to blow stuff out of the water. When it comes to credit spreads, you're making pennies, and I get it. I guess I just wouldn't be really the guy to ask about that. For me, it will be more about looking at when the market sells, I just sit in cash and I make a list. And I say, okay, what's not selling? And that's how I did in 2020. I did phenomenally because I was aware enough that I completely sidestepped the crash. And then I got involved in a lot of names like Zoom and Peloton and stuff because I was able to identify that these things are not selling, right? If we take a look at Berkby, and I'll get back to the rest of the stuff in a moment, right? Berkby is just a monster. And this is the boring type name. So even though the market might be selling, I hate to take this phrase from Kramer, and of all people, Kramer, but there is always a bull market somewhere. So my job is more to try to find that. The short side of the market and the credit side of the market, in my opinion, are just harder. And I want to trade the easy side of things. So I just want to look for what's not selling. And I have tools to do that. One of the main ones is TI Strength, which we'll get into in a little bit there. So let's look at RSP next. So again, for those who don't know, RSP is an equal weighted version at the high. I think this note of barely holding prior highs is still valid. You can see the relative strength. If we go to SPY, we can see the pullback in SPY is a lot more dramatic than the pullback in RSP. In my opinion, that's just because of the weight difference. So the SPY is going to be heavily weighted towards Apple, Microsoft, Netflix, Google's, all that kind of stuff. RSP is equal weighted. So it's a better representation of the overall market. So I'm going to take my cues more from the RSP and just say, okay, we could be into a range. RSP, these lows are still very important, but then we have these lows right below it. So I'm going to say like 150-ish. Let's just do watch 150. Add that note in there. Just because I think that's going to be a pretty important level. Just making sure I'm keeping everything neat. See, I sucker you guys into these live streams, and I'm basically just doing, as I mentioned, this is the work that I do every night to build this blog post for the TI Strength or the Stats Edge Pro people anyway. So you guys are basically watching me do my homework for the weekend. MDY, I always just put this note. It's in a range. It's been in a range forever. As long as we're inside this range, I'm not really too interested. However, this area here is kind of important. So we can take a look at this through here and wonder if that's going to hold. Because if that holds, we may get a springboard to move higher, but MDY is still in a range. Again, MDY is your mid caps. So large caps are over 10 billion. Mid caps are 2 to 10 billion. Small caps are basically anything 2 billion up. And there's micro caps in there, which I'm not really too concerned about. So don't drink beer at your desk, because if you spill any on your keyboard, it can mess it up. And I got this like brand new Apple keyboard, and it's got the Touch ID thing, so I can just sit down and put my finger on it, and it signs in. I can buy stuff with it, and it's like $150 keyboard. So I'm butthurt about that. But for someone who types for most of your life, it's very important. Excuse me. Oh, that's gross. So let's go to Koifin. Again, this is koifin.com, not affiliated with them yet. Someday someone will watch this stream and see me say that. Sign in. See how easy it is to sign in with this keyboard? Now I got to buy another one. I like a lot of things, right? This is like a Bloomberg Lite, basically. But one thing I like to do is I like to go into the last 5 days, and this will show me where the sector strength and weakness is. So energy doing phenomenally, financials doing phenomenally, real estate's getting killed, and so is tech, right? So this shows me one way that I can focus, right? I can just bring this up and just let's watch energy. Because we can see what's going on here pretty easily. Okay, I'm going to spell that wrong. You guys are going to have to be okay with it. I blame the dyslexia. So with this energy and financials, we can then go in and look at those individual names, right? Energy, I had this kind of bull flag drawn here. We gapped up and just ran. So that's been phenomenal. XLF just broke out. First day of a breakout. So when we're scanning, and the reason I do all this is that basically I want to find out what playground am I playing in. I want to get a feel for the markets. And then also, I want to note what indices are strong and what indices have a potential to go next week. From there, I'm going to do stuff like try to figure out when I'm doing my scanning, if I see something from a financial sector and that chart looks really good, and I know the index looks really good, that's going to put more weight to me saying, okay, this is something I'm going to watch. This wood is interesting. Let's actually just kind of redraw this a bit. All right, so we've got that high at 90 we're struggling in, and this is a kind of just a lumber wood ETF. So I'm just pointing this out because if you see things that would profit off a move in lumber, it looks like we might actually get a breakout. So maybe we're going to take a shot at that crazy high of lumber. So we got to keep an eye on that as well. So kind of summarize my opinion of the market is the big caps continue to do well. They continue to be phenomenal. So if you're going to focus right now, it makes sense to focus on larger and mid cap names. The small caps are getting hammered. So you're going to have a little bit of a harder time playing with those. But the other thing I wanted to point out, and it's funny the flack I got for this tweet, but I think this is important. I'm actually going to copy this chart out of here to share with. But yeah, I did trigger some people for sure, which was certainly not my intention. But you know, I tweeted this if you're interested at all. In my Twitter, it's just Michael Noss CMT at Michael Noss CMT. I have a Stats Edge Trading Twitter account. I should probably use it more, but just seeing the Berkshire Hathaway breaking out and Kathy still tanking doesn't mean that these things are going to continue this way, of course. But I think this is a very important chart to look at, just because it kind of shows you what's been happening recently in that market, where, you know, if you had been betting on these big growth names, you've been getting killed. If you've been copy image, paste, okay, do it old school. Right, if you've been betting on these, you know, Zoom, Peloton, all these names, you've just been getting murdered recently. So betting on these boring names, the stuff that Warren Buffett would participate in, those have been doing phenomenal. So if that trend is going to continue, might be one of those where that's what you focus on. You guys saying, right? I love doing this. Best tweet ever. Retweet it. Love that. But yeah, I got some shit for it for sure. And it's funny. Everyone who gave me shit had like a monkey in their title, right? So this guy saying, "Oh yeah, but she's beating him over time," and I just like I don't give a shit about 6 years. And ARK will win, right? They both had. But anyway. But that's just what's been going on. So that means that we should be focusing on those kind of boring names from there. And that's kind of the rundown of the market. And that's why I go up and down the cap table like that. I had someone ask, why do you do the RSP and the MDY and the IWM and all of those things? And it's because you need to know what game you're playing, right? So right now the market's pulling back. We've got some areas where it needs to hold. But without a doubt, bigger, boring names have been doing better than your smaller, crazier names. Now, right, Peloton is a perfect example. This thing's been getting hammered. It doesn't mean I'm not going to play it. I'm still watching Peloton. It's been putting in this incredibly long RSI divergence while trading in this channel. So if it breaks out of this channel, I'd buy it, right? And I'd buy it, but I'm buying it for like 3 or 4 days. Now, to trade easier, and what I recommend for newer traders is always just look at what's stronger and go that way. You know, and try to figure that, you know, make sure you're going in that direction. So far, I'm loving this streaming software because, like, this is. Oh, you guys can't even see that, can you? No, it doesn't show up. But yeah, I just have this little, this little box that I can see all your chats in. I can just click one button because there was someone who asked, Pfizer. Can I check out Pfizer? So yeah, that's my synopsis. Large cap things are doing well. We are pulling back a bit, but we have a long way till we have to be like totally scared of the market. Pfizer is interesting to me. Just remove that. All right, we've pulled back to test this support right here, or this resistance. And so far, we're doing a good job testing that. If we're going to push from here, I think you just lean against this level. You know, if you're under like 53 or something on Pfizer, you're probably wrong. But this one's interesting to me. Now, for me, I would wait to see it bounce off that level a little bit, and we could go from there. And then we could push down as well. I was looking at Weisenhauser with the lumber ETF. Maybe. So how do I get rid of that if I don't know? I have to find that guy's tweet again. What if I just do that? That gets it. There's got to be a way to set up so it only leaves it up there for a minute. But yeah, Pfizer's interesting. You got to be careful. I'm one that I don't trade news. I avoid it. So you got to know that trading that kind of stuff can be problematic where, there's a new variant or this or that or the other thing, things are going to move pretty substantially. Not as crazy as small drug companies, but something we can look at. So again, this website is just forexfactory.com. No affiliation, but that's cool. So that did all next week. Did it? June 9th to 16th. Is that next week? Yeah. I don't know why it did that, but I like that it did. So basically what this is doing is looking at all economic events and it color codes them. So if I see a lot of red economic events, again, you got to filter it. Like, I don't think people really care too much about retail sales right now, but maybe. But if we go through here and we look at Monday, you can see there's no news on Monday, so I won't include anything. But Tuesday, we get old Pumpin' Powell on, so that might be interesting. So that's 10 a.m. Is that my time? No, that's Eastern. So it's 10 a.m. Eastern. We got that. We've got CPI on Wednesday. We've got PPI on Thursday. And we've got retail sales on Friday. So really the main thing, I think, because all eyes are on the Fed, so I think this is going to be interesting. So the reason I look at stuff like this is, and I'll just make the note here, is that if there's nothing going on Monday, but then there's a whole lot going on Tuesday, then I think people might wait for J Powell. Right, essentially just meaning that Monday may end up being a fairly slow day because you always got to put yourself in the shoes of you're a large manager. Your guy's got $2 billion worth of stock, and it takes a long time to get into, and it takes a long time to get out of, and these type of things. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be saying, where is it, I'm going to wait till this thing, then I'm going to make a decision, then I'm going to pull the trigger. If you're a Warren Buffett, you don't care if you buy the stuff on Monday or Wednesday, right? You're holding it for years. So you might say, you know what? I'm going to wait till Tuesday until Jay Powell speaks, and then I'll put on my trade on Tuesday or Wednesday. So this may be important enough to make Monday a slower day. So yeah, that's all I really see. The rest of these numbers are obviously important, but everyone's just watching the Fed right now anyway. So NUE. NUE, I got in and then back out the next day for a small loss. If it still holds this and it bounces higher, maybe, but I definitely got small loss on this one, right? That's just, again, I am fully transparent in the fact that I've got like a 50 to 60% win rate, and I just look for the risk reward to offset that. So this was a great trade, and then it wasn't. So I'm going to be removing this from the list. If it's on there, not interested. Right? A lesson on small losses for sure. And then is that Allstate? What I look at with Allstate is we've had a massive move here right into resistance. So if anything, if I had to take a trade off this, it'd be a short. I wouldn't buy this here, right? We've gone up 20% on what's a pretty boring company right into this prior support that could be resistance. So I'm not a fan of that long right now. And WY, is this your Weisenhauser thing? I don't see a technical pattern there. It's an uptrend for sure. It doesn't move very much, not very volatile, and I just don't see a pattern to play off of. NUE was an overnight drop. Nope. No, it wasn't. It went up, and then it gapped up the next day, and then it sold all day, and then it gapped up the day before, and then it sold off. So I guess time zone dependent, but it's certainly like if we do this, that will include the after hours. It didn't move much. We could more prove that by zooming into the 10-minute chart and then turning on after hours and just see that it was up one day, and then it gapped up the next day, and then it sold off, right? If it's not in the gray, it's not overnight hours. Then we had this other gray area where nothing happened, then it sold off again. So I would take a look at your charts because that certainly was not an overnight drop. The importance of always having a stop, right? Because you're right, if it was an overnight drop, your stop wouldn't help, but that's not right. All right, so let us initially get in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what's on the list currently. I'm going to remove the stuff that I'm no longer interested in, and then we will add back in. Oh, yeah, NRDY I wanted to look at. I'm going to start playing with these RSI divergences more. So basically, this is the list as of Thursday for the Stats Edge Pro people. And then I'm going to see what to take off and what to put on. Anything that's just no longer valid, right? So these are my reasons, right? This docs, I'm playing off this 47 resistance. So if this breaks, and then I'm no longer interested, I want to see it above like 52, 53. EGYP, I'm going to have to take this off the list. I'm in this one and it's working phenomenally. Right, got in as we broke in through here, and we're taking another little push off here, just playing against this this long support level right here after this big down move. FGen, right, talked about why I like that earlier. I'm still going to leave that on the list. FSR, same kind of thing. Just, again, trying to find... you find your area, you pick your point, you go from there. HUT, I'm going to take off just because we know HUT is going to gap down because it trades off crypto. And I don't really want to play too much with the crypto right now. LNWG, we had a little trade on this before, and then it came down, and then this second move, maybe, and then it came back down, so I'm going to take that one off as well. It's not holding my support zone, so I'm not interested, right? I want to buy things when they're above support and then sell things when they're below it. PetQ had some bad times, but I am still interested in this one, so I'm going to leave it on. It would have to retake this sell-off and then bounce, so it's a long way away. QUTO, I had someone's away. RRC I still like. I'm going to leave that one on as well. I'm going to take, did I already do that? I'm going to take this QOT off. Just been waiting too long for it to do something. And last is SGMA. Come on. Yeah, I'm going to leave this one on. Again, I'm just trying to play off this prior support right here to see if we're going to get a reversal on that one. So we've got like 5 stocks we can add to the list. So let's go into my scanning tool, which is Trade Ideas, and just see what we can find here. Question, what is the best way to track when institutions are buying into the stock? You'll never know that for sure, right? Like their job is to hide that from you. Like that's, there's some institutions that when I worked with hedge funds, I would go into that wouldn't let you bring cell phones and stuff. Like they're serious about that. So what's everything else? Red? Okay. Red. So you're never going to know for sure. The only thing you can know for sure is that when a hedge fund or an institution moves or buys or sells something, they're going to move the market. So if the stock's in an uptrend, it's going to be being bought by institutions, and if it's in a downtrend, it's going to be sold by institutions. But there's no way to know for sure, right? They spend a lot of time and a lot of money hiding that as well. This is just a pullback scanner. I'm just looking for pull names like CSV, which is very interesting to me. So you can see how much overall, how much more CSV has been outperforming the market, and then has recently pulled back there. This one. So if we go to CSV, what I'm kind of looking at is it's pulled back into these prior highs right here, right there. Wondering if they're going to bounce. So let's do that and do this and see it goes from there. So I'm going to watch just to see, right? We have a pretty clear downtrend here. See if this, which, I've talked about a bit, and I will talk about more when we do our live Q&A, which is another thing that we do for the Stats Edge Pro is once a month, near the end of the month, I sit down with you guys and it's 2 hours, privately, and you can ask whatever question you want via email or hop on the mic or do whatever, and I'll answer them for as long as needed. And that's, bring your own beer, I'll be there for hours kind of thing. I am going to be playing a lot more pullbacks this year. I just went through all of my trading in 2020 and 2021, and 2020 was an amazing year. 2021 was okay, right? It wasn't the best year ever. We kept the lights on kind of thing. But when I separated them out by trade, the pullback ones did way better. So I'm going to play more of this kind of pullback style. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here. So, talk about 59.50 and 57.50. So I'm going to watch 59 spot 5 stop, which is something that you have to do as a trader, right? This is why I will never do a signal service, because I'm no guru, right? I'm not the guy, right? This is, Stats Edge Pro, it is what it is, right? It's me, you looking over my shoulder. I'm not saying that I'm going to be the one to make you millions of dollars and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's one of my draws with people, right? Is I won't bullshit you. Like there's just no, I am too young and I have too long of a career to bullshit people. So, right, 2021 was good. I fed myself. I made a living with trading, and then I got Stats Edge Pro and Trade Ideas and all this other stuff that make it so that I'm always okay. But with every year. And if you haven't done this year, I recommend, because I do every single year. I spend the last week or so of the year going through all of my trading, categorizing it by setup, finding out what did better. Near the end of the year, I started to trade RSI divergences. That did really well. So I'm going to be doing more of those. You'll see more of those from me at Pro. And I did well with pullback trades, finding strong stocks that are pulling back, which I know the Pro members know that I rant about all the time, right? I always say, find a trend, find a pullback into that trend and buy it. I was doing a little bit too much of chasing breakouts for my own liking. So I'm going to be doing way more pullback trading is big long rant from that. DOV says, Brett. Dover Corporation. It looks nice. What do they do? Not that I overly care, but when I say what do they do, I mean more what sector are they in. Okay, so they're 20 billion, so they're a large cap, which we know large caps are doing well, right? They're part of that industry. So no, I like that. I don't think I will trade it personally. We've got earnings. You got 14 days till earnings. That's not the end of the world, but I see what you're looking at, right? You're above pretty much all resistance that I can see, and you're putting in this nice bear flag looking pattern. So that looks good. FN. Here, this one, I don't, right off the bat, I don't like as much just because it had this breakout and then, right, this breakout here and then failure. So I don't like that as much. But Dove, I really like that. I think that's a good looking one. So this scan that I'm doing right here, this is for the Pro members, right? You guys have it in the pocket, which is a pullback to the 20-day SMA. I think I just changed this one so it's the 50-day, just to give me more of a list. Everyone appreciate the absence of BS. Thank you. So yeah, so what I'm doing here is I'm trying to look for stocks that are just selling down, but still in predominantly uptrends, right? So we're trying to get that pullback into a primary trend, and we're just trying to find one that has a key level, right? I did well on key. KEY. I like that comment. Thank you very much. Yeah, key was great. See, it's like, but like some of the breakouts do well, you know what I mean? And this is what, when they do well, they do great. They just, they don't look back. But it's like, I always look at it and I say, well, we got key on this breakout, but could we have gotten it on this pullback? So I don't know. On this one, I would just say, right, you've got earnings too close on key. I would say it's time to put at least a large majority of your money in your pocket on this one and move away. For me, what I'm looking for when it comes to pullbacks, and we can just look at CSV for an example, is, I've just kind of determined that that's a level right there and that we've pulled back into that level and that's kind of holding. So I'm just looking for, maybe $60 or something like that, just to prove I don't want to buy, I don't want to just buy it as it's pulling back. And that's kind of, I guess, a way I should preface that. When I say pullback, I basically mean I'm not buying the breakout of it. I'm trying to buy into strength. Like I wouldn't just buy CSV right here and just pick a level like that. There are traders that do that. I'm sure they do well. For me, it just gives me, like, I wouldn't know where to really put my stop. It's like the same, like this last hour trader algorithm that we have that I'm going to adjust. Just because, again, finding where to put stops is kind of complicated. But, say, for example, we've got this high here at like $60. And I'm actually going to, so I put 59.50 area. But we got this high right here at 60 bucks. So say we break and we close above 60 bucks, that's probably where I'd be interested in. And then I know that if we take out this swing low down here, it's time to move out, right? So it gives me the area. So that means that say my entry is here and my risk is here, right? I'm risking this amount. So then my question is, can I get like that amount, which is, eyeballing it probably roughly double. And yeah, that's super easy. If we take a shot at new highs, then I'm risking this amount to make that amount. And that to, eyeball is 3 to 4 times my risk. Say you have a 50-50 win rate or less over the length of your career. Sometimes you're going to have some weeks you're going to have 100% win rate, and some weeks you're going to have a 0% win rate. But, over the length of your career, you have 50-50 win rate. If you're making 2, 3, 4 times your money or your risk, then, over the long run, that's phenomenal. So that's kind of how I look at it. We can do a bit of nerd rant while I scan. I am using, a couple things. So yeah, this is an M1 MacBook Air. So I use Parallels. So I have a version of Parallels. This is usually what you're used to seeing if you check me out on any webinar I do or anything like that, because this is sanitized. So there's nothing personal at all on here. I don't even have, I have Brokers Plus loaded, but it's not connected to any of my accounts or anything. I have the simulator running on this. This is like what I show people, so I don't need to worry about showing them something that I worry about showing people. This is more like my real account, in theory, just don't notice the stuff on the bottom. It's all stuff I'm working on kind of thing. This is Amazon Workspaces. So this is a cloud computer. I love these because when I close this down, if I go somewhere else and I open up my my MacBook Air, my M1 MacBook Air, which is right, it's this, it's all still here because this is being run in the cloud. So yeah, so I use Mac and then I just use the Windows version for trade ideas and interactive brokers and all that kind of stuff. NRG. This is interesting to me. I think I'm going to add this to the list too. Again, in the theme of, so NRG is damn near close to a large cap. It was like, $5 away from being a large cap. It's got this really clean support and resistance area in through here. It broke that, and now it's pulling back, and it put in this little kind of hammer indecision candle. So we're going to talk like 41.40 on this one. Plus, it's energy, right? 41, and we talked about how well the energy sector is doing. I think this is probably more of a utility, but close enough kind of thing. So I like that one. So again, just trying to find our way into, and then also just keeping in mind that the whole market is pulling back, right? So if the whole market is pulling back, it makes sense for us to look for pullbacks as well, right? FFIV. So we were watching this breakout of 210, and that would have been phenomenal. And now it's just kind of pulling back into, let's just move this into this range here. All right, all of these lows that happened in through here. Nice pullback. That looks a little bit too much like the market to me. FCX. It's got a lot of resistance right up ahead here. It looks nice though, right? It's obviously an insanely strong name, right? I think All-Star Charts, I think Sean from All-Star Charts took a trade in this one as well. From a short-term trade, the only thing I worry about is this tail. So if you're interested in this one, I would just say, you want to see it kind of close above that area. So call it, $43, give or take. DISCA. Is that still hammered from that hedge fund blow up? Oh, it's perking up there. Not really interested in it right here after it's already made that move, but maybe if it pulls back or digests for a period of time and then breaks, looks interesting. Looks like that whole hedge fund fiasco that caused this and then that is taken over. But yeah, I would want to see a bit of a pullback there. So let's just yeah, that FFIV I kind of talked myself out of. Yeah, I like that popping comments on screen thing. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with this. Like I'm gonna do like lower thirds and like I'll hit a button and it will remind you guys to like the video and stuff like that. So it's a cool little program. But again, it's built from the ground up for M1. And again, nerd stuff aside, I'm really liking these M1. This thing is, I got this like right when M1 launched, like the day of, and I push it, right? I do a lot, when it comes to streaming and videos and blah, blah, blah. So I may hit I may suck it up and buy one of the new MacBook Pros that came out and then, right, sell the Air and the Mini and then just get a Pro to do everything. And then I'll probably spill a beer on it and it'll be like this keyboard. Fang. Looks good. Again, just needs a little more digestion for me. The way I look at this is gone from 100 to 120, so like 20% in just a straight shot. I can't buy stuff that's up like that. I need to see like a base or a pullback or something. Again, doesn't mean it's not going to work. There are traders out there who will buy stuff that's up that much and expecting it to go. But for me, I just can't do it, right? I need a tight place to put a stop is probably the best way to talk about it, right? So that's what I'm looking at with a lot of these, like SSD. This pullback looked nice because, right, we broke out of this kind of bull flag right here. We broke out of it and now we're pulling back into it. But I'm like, where would I get involved? It'd have to be way up here. And then my stop would kind of be down here. So now I'm risking this and then a pull out from there. So it's like, I'm gonna miss the touch bar. No, I won't. I won't. I think you're in the minority there for sure. I know there were some times that it was cool. Like I had the 16-inch Pro, and it may have been that I was spoiled on that thing because it had that shitty keyboard, that like really shallow, like it was like you were just hitting on nothing. It's like you were just tapping. It was just a shitty looking keyboard or shitty feeling keyboard, and it would always like get dust and stuff in it, and it would double type. Like you'd hit F and it would. So that might have been what spoiled me. Plus, it was whoever had mentioned Pfizer earlier. I'm gonna put Pfizer on the list here. It's a nice pullback, right? I noted earlier, it pulls back into this area. So what we need to see at like 56.50 and then like 54.50. Yeah, and then it was they made the thing like super thin and super light, but the problem with it was the fans would kick on for any reason and it would always run super hot and the battery only lasted like 2-3 hours. And as anyone will tell you from Stats Edge Pro, if I can be out in my hammock, I'm out in my hammock. So if it's nice at all out there, I'm out there. So I want long battery. I type all the time, so I want a good keyboard. So these new ones, it's like, I don't know, maybe the touch bar had some cool stuff to it, but for me, it's not worth the drawdown. So we have to kind of hide this because I don't think I'm allowed to technically show you this. Put it right there. You guys didn't see nothing, but this is an RSI Divergence scanner that I'm working on. There is one already in Trade Ideas. This one is better. I used more of my brain to figure it out. Now, my caveat to this will always be that if you're counter trend trading, it's harder, and you have to be quicker, right? You have to, take your money and run. Whereas if you're more trend trading, you're going to get breakouts that are potentially going to exist for longer. So they're easier to trade, right? However, when I went through my performance, I found, we got to put this up here before I get much. I found they did very well. And anything that does well, I'm going to look to do more of, right? So for you Trade Ideas members, these, move this. This scanner will be updated sometime next week within Trade Ideas, so you'll get the same thing that I'm looking at. I just can't show you the origins of it. But a lot of these falling wedges and falling channels that I traded last year with the RSI moving higher. For those who don't know, an RSI divergence is essentially when price moves lower, but the RSI, which is a momentum indicator, moves higher, showing that this may be running out of steam. So I'd be interested maybe in DraftKings, for example, if we could break over 28, and then my stop would probably be 26. And then again, I'm not looking for DraftKings to go to 70, right? I'm looking to get in, if I can get into, let's just do this. I like this tool. I keep forgetting about it. But let's say we do this. So we get in at 26, or what's that? 28, and then we stop it at, say, 25, right? If we can get up to here, that's a 2.7 hour trade. Right, so that's the kind of thing I'm looking for with these, is just get in, get your money, get out. So I think I am going to put a disclaimer. Watch 28. And I'll probably just a counter trend, not for new traders. But yeah, I'm just going to start playing more and more of them. I like the idea of pullback trades better, just because you're trading in the direction of the trend. These counter trend trades, basically, I'm going to reserve two or three spots on my list for these counter trend trades, which is what I'm doing now, just to try to test them more and more. Again, it's already part of my playbook. It's part of my written trading plan to try them, just because they worked, right? So I'm not going to ignore something that works. This FUTU I'm really interested in, but that's Hong Kong, that flag right up there. So I'm just not, both China and Hong Kong, I just don't really want to mess with right now. Yeah. Bonk. And another thing for new traders, right, is GNOG. Right, same thing. We see this downtrend going on in through here, and this tightening of this downtrend. And then we see an increase in the RSI, right? So if we can get over 10, I'm going to stop it at 9. So then could we get to 12? Certainly. Right? So I'm going to go watch 10, stop 9. Just more quick hits for my GNOG. Just more quick hits for the playbooks. Thank you, Brett. Sometimes my ignoring of news gets me in trouble. Okay, so that explains why they have the exact same price action. So I appreciate that. Ooh, that looks good. I like that. But without, yeah. Yeah, I'm actually going to take that from you. I like that. Right? I like the, we're getting a pullback here, and then we get this bounce up, and we've got a little sideways action. So I'm going to steal that one from you. 15.50 and then like 14. CLMT 15.50. It's really cool to see your progress there, Brett. So I like that one. So I just got to draw it up. But yeah, I just like, it's a very kind of typical bull flag. I like the kind of indecision that's going on there. So we're going to watch. And I don't see earnings for, a very long time. It's way out here. Yeah, so that's a funny comment. Yeah, if anyone says, hey, Mike, why don't you want to trade China stuff? It's for that. That's the reason right there. Like, that's just murder. Right? So I'm just not. It's one of those, like, if you can remove a risk like that from yourself, then why wouldn't you? Yeah, like IQ, for example, looks interesting, but same with JD. Which, okay, so, as much as I want to avoid these things, like we've seen like 4 or 5 of these names with this RSI divergence that, again, is something that can signal a potential bottom. And now we're seeing KWeb with the same thing. So it's, if you were a gambling man and you wanted to take a shot, it seems like you might be nearing your area. This is something that at some point I may open up like just an FU fund and throw like 10, 20 G's in it and just, like do stuff like this. Like just buy like $2,000 worth of calls on KWeb and just say, hey, right, I'm going to, triple my money on the trade or I'm going to be out. But this is the kind of stuff that I think options is good for, is when you need to just like, you just want to define that risk and just know, it's going to be a good trade or those calls are going to expire worthless, and just, take your shot and move on. Because yeah, I'm seeing a lot of things that maybe time. Here's another China that's showing it as well. So, maybe time for a bottom on some of these names. Not, again, when I say a bottom, there's another one. I'm not saying that these things are gonna skyrocket, but that they're like Peloton, for example, right? I talked about earlier that I was watching this, so I think this will be the last one for our list here, right? So the same kind of thing, right? We have this downtrending channel, and then we have this increasing RSI. So might be time where they say, okay, this thing's gotten beaten up enough. But does that mean I think Peloton's going back to $150 a share from 30? No. But, right, if I can buy it here, with a stop around there, and say it gets kind of up to close the gap, that's 3 times my risk. 3 times my risk with a 50-50 win rate, even a 25% win rate over the long run. That math works, right? You still make money. And that's the goal, right? So for Peloton, I think I'm going to look at like 36.50 and then 32.50. Because I think once these things go, these really beaten up names, they're going to bounce hard. But I'll be selling into that bounce. I certainly won't be, there's people, you want to talk about bag holders, right? There's no more bag holders anywhere than there is in Peloton, Zoom, DraftKings. So many bag holders. It's going to be a huge, huge problem. They're going to take forever to figure out, a way higher, if there is going to be a way higher in any of these. So that is all I am looking for today. I'll open it up now. I have to go in a bit. I think supper's going to be here soon, but any more chart requests, let me know while you're doing that. If you want to hit the like, that is fantastic. Again, the more people that do that, the better. I'm excited about this new streaming thing and this new software. Again, I'm going to put some graphics and, we'll get all professional in 2022. It's time to grow a bit. It's been a nice, slow, steady growth of the channel, but I wanna ramp at some point. All right, well, I don't see any. I have to wait a little longer. I think I have it on normal mode. So I think, just FYI, I think you guys are a little bit more delayed than normal. So but that's a setting that I can change next time. I've just noticed that when I say something, I get a comment like 30 seconds later. So that will be changed. See, like I just saw a couple likes go through from when I asked. So you guys are a little bit more delayed than I would like, but that's, again, it's quality versus delay is something I have to play with a little bit more. But I'll do that definitely for next week's streams. And I may start streaming instead of doing a video on Wednesday. I don't know. Feedback on that is always welcome. But that is going to be it for me for today. I appreciate you all for coming. I don't know how to turn off the stream from this thing. Thank you guys. If I hit this, it may cut off abruptly. I apologize. Trade safe out there, everyone, and broadcast. All right, bye-bye.